So we'll bring you details of all those stories. But let's go back to Parliament for the continuation of the debate of the appointment committee's recommendations.
The result of your exit
Mr. Speaker, as you probably are well aware, it was part of my request in seconding the motion that we work to build consensus, and that in respect of trade, there was no difficulty at all. The issues we had was in reference to the Honorable Yao Osafo-Maafo, Minister-designate, Senior Minister-designate, and Mr. Boakye Ejiako, Minister-designate for Energy. For that reason, I requested and made an application to you that you graciously granted for the Appointments Committee, a part of it to me to engage the two in order to elucidate further particulars and information. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to note and inform that the committee, supported by the chairman with the majority leader, just finished engaging the two. And it appears that, Mr. Speaker, if I'm able to make these submissions, I probably will further request for a correction to the report that we are so considering and to substitute or expunge some words. With Mr. Boakye Ejiako, even though, Mr. Speaker, I hope you still will grant me right to look into his merit. I'm just reporting on the committee as we engage him. We took strong resentment and objection to he attempting to say that President Mahama was corrupt and the innuendo of FSRUs, and then some detail he provided in respect of energy sector debt. To quote him exactly as we met him, he says that not a single of the agency are able to tell their exact debt, and that he was still in discussion with them, particularly with ECG and GMPC. Therefore, any other figure which was attributed to him, we will consider that that was not part of our record. This is what he said, that in terms of debt, he had indicated that his overall debt, as he knew, was 1.2 billion, and that there was a monthly accumulation of 66 million, and that the 800 he referred to was government indebtedness to ECG. So that we find satisfactory. Mr. Speaker, he also, in the discussion and in an answer to a question, has said that the World Bank was breaching on President Mahama then. He says that he has withdrawn those words, and that there was no those briefing. Euphemistically, I'm sure he was suggesting that there was some pressure. He has yielded that there was no such pressure on that particular matter. Mr. Speaker, in respect of FSRUs that he referred to, he has indicated to our committee that what he has is not trade, and that in fact he is aware of two which has been referred to him from the GMPC, and there is one which is outstanding, probably at discussion stage. We have advised him to be wary of what reports he gets from his technocrats as he takes over. But the record cannot be that there's been financial commitment for trade in order that it could occasion the issue of corruption. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, if you so permit me, I probably along the line will comment on him and the portfolio he is occupying, but make a submission to you, Mr. Speaker, to substitute the words in page 11 of page 24 by majority decision for the committee recommends by consensus, noting this particular line. And therefore, I hope that you give me the right to comment on his portfolio, since that is critical to us.
Order. Honorable members who must know the techniques for consensus development. Order. Yes, Honorable Minority Leader, continue.
Mr. Speaker, with the senior minister designate, he indicated to this committee that he is not a tribalist and therefore cannot be condescending on matters that are tribalistic in order to be an ethnic chauvinist. And therefore, those words, he stands by the fact that he was misconstrued and misreported and misrecorded, and gave us evidence of how far he relates to other people in other parts of the world. Now, Mr. Speaker, in respect of the CNTI loan, he was humble enough to say CNTCI loan, which was a facility which the Ministry of Finance came to Parliament. He rather would want that we say that it lapsed naturally and was not pursued further, but he did not come to this House for an order of rescission. So, having regard to what he has said, and with those words, may I again, Mr. Speaker, respectively with your indulgence and Chairman, say that page 8 of 24, the committee recommends by consensus to this House, delete the words by majority. So those who are interested in a shouting race, the essence was in order that we protect the integrity of what submissions nominees make before us, in order that this House is respected at all times as a House which romanticizes record. I don't know whether the majority leader, I'll end here and allow the majority leader, and probably you can make it. Thank you.
Honorable Minority Leader, I will respectfully ask you to restate the motion as a whole.
Mr. Speaker, I guess that as the chairman of the committee, I will give you the conclusions. He was reporting because he sought leave that we go into caucus to discuss that matter. Mr. Speaker, the position as of now is that the report on Mr. Yao Osafo-Maafo, Senior Minister Designate, be amended to say that Yao Osafo-Maafo is recommended by consensus. We substitute by majority with by consensus. In the case of Mr. Boakye Agyarko, we substitute by majority with by consensus. The Speaker, your permission, if I move that the report be so amended. Well, Mr. Speaker, I wish also to observe that indeed out of this meeting has come some other revelations and confessions. It's the news that is going round that I have received money for members of the committee was actually created to play a level ground that the majority had called the president corrupt. So corruption must be shed amongst all sides. That confession has come. It has come tempest to some extent because some of us were extremely boiling up. Now, knowing the source and knowing where it comes from, we'll find a way to deal with it such that the entire members of the committee will continue to enjoy the confidence of the Ghanaian populace. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, I move that the report now reflects that the committee, pages 23 and 24, as regards Mr. Boakye Agyarko and we delete in respect of Mr. Speaker, page 24 of the report. Is that where it starts from? Yes, Mr. Speaker, at page 23 of 24, the committee, no, it ended, it's Mr. Speaker, 24, that the committee recommends to the House to approve the nomination.
Order.
Am I holding a different report? Why is Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence,
Order.
it appears I was holding the original draft which is not signed. That the last paragraph on page 23 of the report, paragraph 9, that the committee recommends to the House to approve the nomination by the last sentence, the first word, by consensus, to delete majority decision and substitute it with consensus. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Seconder.
Madam Speaker, I beg to second. Thank you.
The motion for amendment of the conclusion has been moved and seconded. I'll put a question. All those in favor say aye.
So those were proceedings from Parliament, and as you heard there, the House has recommended for approval, rather the Appointments Committee has recommended for approval the nomination of Energy Minister Designate Boakye Agyarko and Senior Minister Designate Yaw Osafo Maafo after they clarified some comments and reduced some statements they had made when they came before the vetting committee. But even before this, MP for Boku Central had accused the Energy Minister Designate of attempting to influence minority members on the Appointments Committee with 3,000 cedis to push through his nomination. MP for Boku Central and committee member Mama Yariga says that the nominee tried to influence them with 3,000 cedis. He was speaking on Accra-based radio station Radio Gold earlier Friday.
Honorable Muntaka called us and said that the chairman had brought some money, and so we should pass by and pick our money. So we passed by and individually were given 3,000 Ghana cedis, which we assumed was the allowances due us as committee members. So somehow yesterday we started hearing some rumors that it wasn't the allowances that should be given to us from Parliament. It was some other source. So this morning we had a meeting, and during the meeting we raised the issue with our chief whip, asking what was the source of the money. Because we raised the issue with him yesterday, some of us raised the issue with him yesterday, and he said he was going to check from the chairman, because he had also assumed that it was the certain allowance that he had given him to give to us. So we raised the issue this morning again, and he said he had met with the chairman, and the chairman had said that it was from Boakye Agyarko, who is a nominee, whereupon we as a minority said, no, we're not interested in his money. He should take the money and then return it to the chairman to give it back to Agyarko. So we gave the money back to our chief whip and asked him to send it back to the chairman to give it to Mr. Agyarko. So those are the facts that I know. I don't know much beyond that. I wasn't there when the money was handed over. All I know is that we were told that was coming from him, and we said we're not interested, and we returned the money back to our whip to send it back to the chairman of the committee.
So as of now, you can't tell whether the money was intended as bribe to you.
Well, I mean, the logical conclusion, of course, Ajaku doesn't normally give us money. So Ajaku, the business transaction with Ajaku, for which, dividends come and he's supposed to share with us.
Well, joint news sources at the majority leadership say the claims are categorically false. But let's go straight to Parliament, where, as you know, the House has been debating the Appointment Committee's report. Joseph Opoku-Gapor is our parliamentary correspondent. Joseph, I understand that you've been able to glean some information with respect to this matter, this allegation of bribery, if you like, being made by the MP for Boku Central, Mahama Ayariga.
Yes, the chairman of the Appointment Committee of Parliament, Joe Osei-Owusu, a while ago responded to the issue on the floor of the House itself. The House has been debating whether to approve the two persons, Boakye Agyarko and the three other nominees who are contained in the second report of the Appointment Committee of Parliament. Well, Joe Osei-Owusu is claiming that after some consultations between members of the Appointment Committee, Mahama Ayariga has withdrawn the allegation, and according to Joe Osei-Owusu, Mahama Ayariga told the members of the committee that the reason for which he put out this allegation was because Boakye Agyarko had appeared before the Appointment Committee and claimed that President Mahama is corrupt. And so, according to Joe Osei-Owusu, Mahama Ayariga a while ago told members of the committee that the allegation of bribery that he made against him, the chairman, and other members of the committee, that there were attempts by Boakye Agyarko to bribe them, is not accurate, and that he made those allegations just to level the playing field and, Osei-Owusu's words, spread the corruption around, because Boakye Agyarko had claimed that President Mahama is corrupt. Well, Joe Osei-Owusu made this statement when he was amending portions of the report that they had submitted to the floor. You would recall that when the initial report was brought to the House, the minority on the Appointment Committee had indicated that they were against the approval of Boakye Agyarko and also Osafo Marfo. And so the report stated that approval for the two was given by majority decision. A while ago, the members of the committee moved out while the discussion on the issue was ongoing to go meet Boakye Agyarko and Osafo Marfo. And when they came back, the minority leader, Haruna Iddrisu, reported to the House that they've gotten clarifications on all the outstanding issues that they had concerns about. And so, as a result of those clarifications that they've gotten, the members of the minority of the committee, are giving their support for the approval of the two. So the report was amended to reflect that instead of approval for the two being given by majority decision, rather approval for the two is being given by consensus. And so the Speaker has moved the motion, and any moment from now, the House will, by consensus, approve the nomination of the two as well as the three outstanding ones, and then the House will be rising. Even before that, the majority leader, Osei Mensah Bonsu, had also on the floor of the House vehemently denied that any members of the Appointment Committee had been bribed or anything like that, and indicated that steps would be taken to ensure that the member who went to the media and made those allegations is brought to book according to the standing orders of Parliament.
Thanks, Joseph Opoku-Gapor is our parliamentary correspondent. Well, earlier today, the president was expected to swear in the new nominees. Let's go straight to the Flagstaff House, where correspondent Elton Brobe is joining us. Elton, so what is happening as we speak, especially now that Senior Minister Designate Yaw Osafo Marfo and Energy Minister Designate Boakye Agyarko have been approved by the House?
Well, so what is going to happen is that we're going to wait a little while before they get here, and then the event itself will start. Now, early on, the Director of National Protocol announced to the gathering to hold on because the program was going to delay. The reason being that Parliament was yet to resolve on the two nominees. And what we are being told that has been cleared out of the way. So very soon, the President, who is upstairs, is going to come down, and then for the event itself will start. Now, when we got here, we're given this particular list, and this contains names of persons who will go through the swearing-in ceremony. I can run by you the list as we have it. We have Honorable Yaw Osafo Marfo, who is a designate vetted by Parliament, and has been approved. Yaw Osafo Maafo as Senior Minister, Albert Kandapa, Minister for National Security, Alan Kwadwo Shemantem, Minister for Trade and Industry, Ken Ofori-Atta, Minister for Finance, Dominic Nitu, Minister for Defense, Gloria Akufu, Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Hajia Alima Mahama for Local Government and Rural Development, Dr. Owusu Efriye for Food and Agriculture, Ambrose Zeri for the Interior, Boakye Agyarko for Energy, Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh for Education, Health is Kwaku Agyeman-Manu, and then Sherry Ayor Kobotwe for Foreign Affairs. What I've been told is that, with the exception of Sherry Ayor Kobotwe, whom we are told is already out of the country because President Akufo-Addo will tomorrow embark on a trip to the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa for an AU meeting. So the Minister of Foreign Affairs is taking the lead. So she will not be here to go to the ceremony. That's how come, if you look behind me, the instrument of authority that will be given them so that they can start work officially as ministers of state. We have only 12, meaning that Sherry Ayor Kobotwe's own will be done maybe outside of the country because the president himself will be in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, this weekend for the AU program. So we are all waiting. Everybody appears set. Family members who have come to support the ministers are all ready. Some of the ministers already are in the room interacting with their colleagues. A while ago, as you can see, Gloria Akufu is already seated with the wife of Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, who is already out there. And then the Minister Designate for Health, Kwaku Agyeman-Manu, interacting with the National Treasurer of the MPP. A while ago, I saw Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh and few others. Alan Kyerematen also came through. So we are waiting for the protocol office to usher in President Akufo-Addo for the ceremony to start. My information is that it will not travel long. The president will speak, and then somebody on behalf of all the ministers will speak to the gathering. The person I've been told is the senior minister, Yaw Osafo Maafo, after being taken to. So we are waiting for the decentralization of some powers of the president to the ministers to act, to operate in those capacities. So, Araba, we are waiting. Very soon, the Director of State Protocol will usher in the president, and then the event will start from here.
Elton, very quickly, I know that the two ministers, Honorable, the nominee for the energy sector, Boakye Agyarko, was at the Flagstaff House earlier in anticipation of being sworn in, and he had to rush to Parliament to be approved. But did you get a chance to speak to him about this allegation made against him by the MP for Bawku Central?
Absolutely. I had an off-record, interaction with him when this information was brought to his attention. His initial reaction was that it wasn't true and that he would speak to the media after the swearing-in ceremony. Whilst we were getting ourselves ready to see if he will open up before, the swearing-in program, he went out, and we were later told that he went to Parliament. I don't know what he went there to do. But off record, he denied the allegation and said that he would speak to the media after the swearing-in ceremony. Now, once we were told that this is out of the way, Parliament has resolved to approve and has already approved their nomination. We are expecting him, together with the other nominees who are in Parliament, to come through and then go to the swearing-in ceremony. And then he will speak to the media to tell his side of the story, as whether indeed he tried to give them money to influence the decision of Parliament, the decisions that they've come to, or not. We will put those questions to him and get a formal response from Mr. Boakye Agyarko, who is the minister at this stage approved by Parliament, but yet to be sworn in by the president in that capacity as energy minister.
All right, many thanks, Elton Brobbey, there with that update from the presidency. And the news is that the president shortly will be swearing in the new nominees, but also that Parliament has approved the two contentious nominees, that is the Senior Minister Designate, Yaw Osafo Maafo, and the Energy Minister Designate, Boakye Agyarko, a short while ago. You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a short break. We'll be back with business. Yeah, welcome back. Now, MP for Nsawam Edwejiri, Frank Anondompre, is calling for fresh investigations into the Paibok Quarry disaster. that claimed the lives of 3 persons. More than 2,000 people were injured and others displaced when explosives at a quarry site at Paibo in the eastern region exploded in December 2015. According to the MP, more than 500 of the victims remain displaced. He expressed concern over the previous government's failure to implement the report of the committee that investigated the disaster.
I urge that the report that was released by the Interior Ministry in respect of the Paibo disaster, which was not implemented by the recent past government, be implemented as soon as practicable. Speaker, I wish to take this opportunity to congratulate the new Minister of Interior and to urge him to prioritize the matter and possibly initiate a fresh probe into the matter. Gather more facts, act swiftly on it, and deal with the recommendations thereof upon assumption of office. Since prevailing situations on the aftermath of the disaster area keeps deteriorating, Minister designates, Mr. Speaker, I must say if you. Mr. Speaker, if we may recall, not so long ago, Ghana exhibited some solidarity and again presented to Haiti a check amount of not less than $3 million as her contribution towards the rehabilitation of earthquake victims. Speaker, I wish to know what we are doing for our own Ghanaian people who have been displaced and rendered homeless by the unfortunate occurrence. Speaker, we cannot continue to play the ostrich, especially with this critical matter. We must strive to bring some relief to our fellow Ghanaians in order to make life meaningful, Mr. Speaker.
MP for Builsa South and former Deputy Interior Minister James Agalga told the House the report is with the Attorney General's office awaiting input before implementation.
We sent a team to the scene of accident to conduct preliminary investigations, and those investigations were carried out by explosives experts from the armed forces. This is to demonstrate the goodwill of government and how serious government took the issue at the time. Honorable Speaker, after the preliminary investigations, we again found it necessary to set up an investigative committee at the ministerial level to carry out investigations into the possible causes of the tragedy at Paibo. Right Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Member for Aduajiri in his statement has alluded to the work done by the investigative committee, and somebody seems to suggest, a member, that the committee's report was shelved. Right Honorable Speaker, the committee did its work and came out with recommendations that we thought needed the input of the Attorney General's outfit, because there were issues of compensation arising from the committee's work. And so we duly submitted the committee's report to the Attorney General's outfit for their input before implementation. Right Honorable Speaker, this was where we got to before we exited office. And so as we speak, Right Honorable Speaker, as I speak, the report together with its recommendations are with the Attorney General's outfit. And so as and when the Attorney General's outfit makes an input into the issues of compensation that were raised, I believe strongly that the current Minister for the Interior would implement the recommendations. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, the maker of the statement has raised issues about disaster management in this country, and he clearly makes an allusion to an attempt by the previous government to pass the National Disaster Management Organization bill.
On his part, MP for Tafo Anthony Akutose said there's a need for government to compensate the victims as soon as possible.
We are talking about 2,000 people who are suffering. As much as possible, we should be apolitical. What we are looking for is what is the solution to the current status of these 2,000 people. That's what matters. So, Speaker, as a member of the 6th Parliament Defense and Interior, we are aware of what my good friend has just said. But as of today, these people have not been helped. And what we need to be asking is, how can we assist government help these people? That's what matters. So I'm glad that my good friend says that the matter is with the Attorney General, presumably in the handing over notes. This House ought to ask that Attorney General to come back to us. We have approved of them and tell us where they are so that even before, because the Finance Committee, in the case of emergency, can authorize funds to assist them. We don't need a budget. So I want to urge members that let's look at, Mr. Speaker, just over the holidays, I was in my house in my constituency when a certain lady whose husband died in the stadium incident came to inform me that as of now, monies have not been paid to her. That is the problem we have. Our job is to assist our constituents in this matter. So I want to urge all members. It is not whether this government, this, that, or that government did that. 2,000 people are currently suffering in the constituency of my good friend. We as parliamentarians, what are we going to do to assist? So, Speaker, I want to give your indulgence to request that the newly approved Attorney General be invited to this House. I'm informed that should be sworn in this evening, next week, as a matter of emergency, to apprise us of the situation so we can accelerate how we are able to help them.
Now, the Ghana Police Service has released a list of postings for senior police officers. It's the first of many changes at the top hierarchy of the police service since the appointment of the acting IGP, David Asante-Apietu, was made. Head of our security desk, Jifa Bampo, joins me in the studio with details. And Jifa, good evening to you. Good to see you as always. We understand that one of the major changes is that of the post of Director General of CID.
Yeah, that's the most significant change. According to the memo we have, talks about postings, senior police officers. The following postings take immediate effect. And the first one mentions COP Prosper Aglo, Director General CID. He's moving to become Director General Special Duties. Prosper Aglo has been at that position of Director General CID for 8 years, so it's close to a decade. And I guess the acting IGP feels that they should be moved around. Coincidentally, his deputy is also moving. His deputy is ACP Dennis Abade. He's also moving to that same department of special duties. Now, some may ask, what are special duties?
Exactly.
Yes, and I asked that very question myself. And what I'm told is that it's a specialized desk, and those are duties that are specially assigned by the IGP. So it varies. I'm told they move around in terms of the variation of duties they will perform. So it's not like they have a specific task related to a specific area or field of expertise. So that is usually determined by the IGP. Now, the other changes are Director General Welfare, DCOP Bright Odro. He takes over from COP Prosper Aglo as Director General Criminal Investigative Department. For those who may not know, the DCOP Bright Odro was a former Northern Region Police Commander. He's also been a commander for other regions across the country before becoming the Director General in charge of welfare. So he is now our new Criminal Investigative Department boss. Okay. Then the interesting one, which tickled my fancy, partly because I'm slightly gender biased, is that of ACP Mamiya Chiwa Adodankwa. She's Deputy Director General, Police Intelligence and Professional Standards Bureau, PIPS, at least up until this announcement was made. She is now the Deputy Director General, Criminal Investigative department. She takes over from ACP Dennis Abade, who is the deputy to Mr. Prosper Agbo, and so that's what she's getting. So it means that the position of Deputy Director General for PIPS is now vacant. We are not sure who is headed there for now. And also the Director General for Special Duties was DCOP Nana Osaberima Prinko. He held that position. Now that that position has been assigned to COP Prosper Agbo, it's unclear where he is headed. So this just gives an indication of the fact that in the days ahead, we'll be seeing more changes at the top brass of the police service. However, there were 17 other changes made in the general scheme of things, of people who were either in a region moving to Accra or to police headquarters, or some people are DOFSU moving to CID, some people who are crime officers in a region being brought to Accra, some people who were in the IGP's office being moved to the legal department. So those are just general changes, 17 of them that have been made. So I guess we'll be seeing more changes.
I must say the IGP really moved really swiftly with those changes.
I actually was anticipating some swift changes. I didn't actually expect this week. I actually kind of projected that by next week we'll be seeing some changes. So I guess we just need to keep our ears close to the ground.
All right, many thanks. And that's head of our security desk, Jifa Bampo. Now, the vice chairman of the Ghana at 60 Planning Committee, Samuel Abu-Jinapor, says the committee will be mindful of the criticism that greeted the Ghana at 50 celebrations and be frugal in the celebrations. His assurance comes at the back of concerns raised by Ghanaians on the upcoming event, with most citing the scandal that rocked the Jubilee celebrations as a reason. Inaugurating the committee Thursday, President Akufo-Addo tasked members to be modest in their programs of activities due to the prevailing economic challenges. Mr. Jinapor believes Ghana's history has contributed to the skepticism expressed by a section of the public on the planned celebrations. He's been speaking to Joy News' Maxwell Ababa, who first asked what the legacy of the Ghana at 60 celebration will be.
Discussions are ongoing between stakeholders, among stakeholders in government, at a very appropriate time, sooner than you think. You can imagine we're going to come out with some initiatives and programs and roadmaps in relation to the 60th Independence Anniversary celebration of our country. But you should be rest assured that we're going to have a few worthy and dignified legacy projects for the 60th anniversary celebrations. That certainly will happen.
For Ghana 50, for instance, we know the Secretariat actually put in some plans to internally generate funds. I mean, there were a lot of things going on to raise funds to fund the celebration. Do we have that also for Ghana 60?
The committee members will meet, deliberate, and come up with a strategy of dealing with the 60th anniversary celebration. But on top of my head, and personally, I think the guiding principle for the committee should be to package this anniversary celebration in a way that will be so attractive that key stakeholders or players or private sector players will be interested in associating or partnering or subscribing to this anniversary. So let's say we should be able to package this celebration in such a way that Joy FM and its competitors, or Joy News and its competitors, will be very eager to be the official media broadcast, what have you, for the celebration, or associated with the celebration. And the celebration is so attractive that you want to be the official media outlet, and that in itself generates competition, and that can be a source of funding for the committee. So this is a task that we have to surmount, an intelligent, skillful approach in getting the 60th Diamond Jubilee celebration so attractive that, for instance, the telcos will be competing among themselves to partner with us in respect of this anniversary, or that this or that. But that is a task ahead of us which we are going to have to intelligently deal with.
But can you assure us that, you know, in going to these corporate organizations, I mean, we will not be taking loans because in the past
taking loans.
I mean, in the past celebration, we had to take $11 million loan from Fidelity Bank just to celebrate.
Well, I've told you that we're in a completely new era. But I've said this lightly, that 50 years ago, it's 10 years ago. We are 60 today. And 10 years in the life of a human being does not mean a span, let alone a country. We must have learned some lessons, and we must be moving on.
What do you say to critics who say that we could have channeled these resources that we're using for the celebration into other areas? For instance, the power sector is struggling, though it has stabilized a bit now. There is more we can do. What about the power sector, education sector?
What about building a power plant as a legacy project for 60th anniversary?
Yeah, that would be beautiful.
Okay, so we're going to have an opportunity to talk about all of these things and then tailor the celebrations in a way that is productive in and by itself, and not just be a fanfare affair, but be a celebration which is also productive and substantive in terms of the needs of our people.
You're welcome back. Let's quickly cross over to the Flagstaff House, where the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, is swearing in the new nominees.
Minister of Finance.
As you can see, the President is handing over the scribe, which has the oath, which indicates that the nominees, the ministerial nominees, have actually been sworn into office and can start functioning in their new roles. He's calling them each one by one. We can see going to sit down Dominic Nitiwul, who is Minister for Defense. Now going to receive hers is the Minister for Justice and Attorney General, Madam Gloria Akufu. Earlier, the minister presented the senior minister designate, Yao Safumafo, with his. Right now is Honorable Haji Alima Mahama, Minister for Local Governments. She's just received hers. The Minister for Agric, Dr. Owusu-Efiri Akoto, has also just received his. And as you know, his nomination came with some controversy from some groups who believed he was pushing the GMO agenda. And the man at the center of today's controversy, Boakye Agyarko, the energy minister, is going to receive his. As you know, the MP for Bawku Central made some serious allegations against him, allegations of attempting to bribe the minority members on the appointments committee, which the majority side has refuted. Mr. Agyarko himself, in an off-record conversation with our reporter, has denied the claims. But we do understand that Mr. Ayaraga says he stands by his claims. So he's just gone to receive his. Mr. Ambrose Derry, who is the Minister for Interior, has also just received his. We are now watching the Minister for Education, Matthew Opoku Prempeh, receiving his scroll from the President. So effectively, they begin, although they had been working in acting capacities, now they can actually work as ministers and not in an acting capacity. They can fully function in their role. In your shot there is the Minister for Health, Dr. Ajiman Menu, Kweku Ajiman Menu, who's been promising to bring about some reforms within the health sector. Of course, you do know that the swearing-in ceremony was expected to have been held much earlier, but was stalled because of the fact that Parliament had not yet approved all the nominees. So they were awaiting the approval of Parliament of all the nominees before conducting this exercise. Right now, Senior Minister, who is acting as a representative for his colleagues, is about to sign a statement on behalf of his colleagues, I presume, to express their gratitude and to inform the President about their determination to do the best that they can do in the roles that they have been assigned. Now, what's interesting about the senior minister designate also is that, and this was stated by the minority leader earlier in Parliament today, and he had said that the claims that in respect of Mr. Osafo Marfo, he explained that his comments, for which reason the minority, the committee stalled his approval, he said that his comments were taken out of context. He was also apologetic about those comments, and so the minority, the committee itself amended their report. So instead of the report reading as recommended by majority, approval by majority, it was recommended by consensus. So he and Mr. Osa, the Energy Minister, Boakye Ejiakor, were approved unanimously by the committee. We're taking a short break. We'll be back with international news. Now, Islamic militants, Al-Shabaab fighters, have launched an attack on a Kenyan military base in southern Somalia. The Al-Qaeda-linked group says it has killed more than 50 soldiers and seized military vehicles and weapons. But a Kenyan military spokesman said the dawn attack was repelled, the base was not overrun, and scores of insurgents were killed in the fighting. A year ago, Al-Shabaab carried out a similar attack on a Kenyan base in the town of El Adi. In that raid, the Islamist group said it had killed more than 100 soldiers, but the Kenyan government refused to give its casualty figures. Now, South African gospel star Lundi Tyamara has died after a battle with stomach tuberculosis and a liver condition. His family confirmed that he died Friday morning in Edenvale Hospital in Johannesburg. The 38-year-old singer, loved for his energetic stage performances, had hits with Imphefumlo Wami and Indiholele. President Jacob Zuma led the tributes to the star, saying Tyamara was one of the best gospel artists that the country ever produced. Now, restaurants and other spaces catering to the public in France have been banned from offering unlimited sugary drinks in an effort to reduce obesity. It is now illegal to sell unlimited soft drinks at a fixed price or offer them unlimited for free. The number of overweight or obese people in France is below the EU average, but is on the rise. The World Health Organization recommends taxing sugary drinks, linking them to obesity and diabetes. Self-service soda fountains have long been a feature of family restaurants and cafes in some countries like the UK, where soft drinks tax will be introduced next year. The new law in French targets soft drinks, including sports drinks containing added sugar or sweetness. That's it for international. We'll be back with more. Now, in other stories, the Medical and Dental Council has finally shut down unlicensed body sculpt center, Obinfo Hospital, following growing public health concerns. The council is hoping the Criminal and Investigative Department of the Police Service will soon conclude its investigations for investigations against Dr. Dominic Obeng-Ando, owner of the facility. Joining us, Matilda Wemega has more.
Following the growing public health concern, the Medical and Dental Council has locked up the Obenfo Medical Center here in Weija, Accra. This is the second time the council is taking such action. This four-story building houses the Obenfo Hospital. Joy News's checks reveal that this facility since 2012 has been operating without a license. The hospital came under scrutiny following complaints of failed surgeries. The CEO of the hospital, Dr. Dominic Obeng-Ando, is currently under investigations for practicing without a license since 2013. The Obenfo Hospital was shut down on January 5, but officials at the facility broke the padlocks and opened up the place to the public. Dr. Ando went to court in an attempt to get an injunction on the closure. The Accra High Court, however, threw out the case after discovering that the lawyer representing the doctor did not also have a license. The Medical and Dental Council says it will use all legitimate means to ensure the lives of patients are protected.
We use all the powers available to us as an administrative body and as are in accordance with the due process of law to protect the Ghanaian public, and I think that is sufficient. Remember that the police, we have actually reported he's continuing to practice to the police. And I've told you that we are working together to ensure that we protect the public. And so that is, I will leave it like that. And we have taken a policy decision to where we now have different categories of the same register. So the permanent register that we have, we are going to now separate the register to show people who are just general practitioners and people who have specialist training in specific areas of their practice, so that you would then know that you have to then work within a certain scope. And if you go outside that scope, you do it to the detriment of your license.
Criminal prosecution of Dr. Obeng-Ando is expected to begin when the CID concludes its investigations. For Joy News, Matilda Wemega, Accra.